My name is Nick, you're watching Urbexcross, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to ride your first ever dirt bike. Before we get into how everything is done physically, I'm just going to give you a few quick terms, okay? Right here on the left side is going to be your clutch lever, all right? Very important, that right there. On the right side, this lever is going to be your brake lever. For now, we're going to sort of avoid using this just for a few minutes, okay? Down on your right foot, this right here is your rear brake, and you press it down with your right foot. Over here on the left, right here, is your shifter. You click down to shift down. You click up with your foot to shift up into the different gears, all right? So with that being said, let's get on to the tutorial portion. Now, this bike is a KTM, but the same rules apply to all kinds of different dirt bikes. So the first step, make sure the key is on, okay? Now this bike has a button right here. This is the magic button. This is electronic start. As you can see, bike automatically starts up. This is your kill switch. This is also very important, okay? Electric start, kill switch. Some bikes don't have an electric start. You're gonna have a little thing over by your foot that folds out, and you have to kick it down. And you go, boom, you kick it down like that. That's how you start your bike. Now, just for this video, I'm going to assume you have an electric start bike. If you don't, a kickstart's just fine. So the first thing you want to do before you ever start the bike, you know, if you're standing here, you're like, all right, cool. I'm excited to ride this bike. You hop right on and you're like, all right, cool. I'm going to kick it in or I'm just going to start the bike. Well, I'm just going to give you a fair warning. If the bike is already in gear, you start the bike, this is what's going to happen. It's going to take off on you, okay? So the first rule of riding a dirt bike is go down here. Make sure you click your shifter all the way down like this. And then give half of a click up. It'll be a nice, easy click up. And from there, you'll be able to move the bike freely because the bike is going to be in neutral, okay? This is very, very important. So now, when you start the bike, turn the key on and kickstart it or push the electric start. The bike just stays in place, okay? It's not going to move anywhere. That's important. I'm trying to keep you guys safe here, okay? So when you're in neutral, what this basically means is that if you get a handful of gas right here, the bike is not going to go anywhere, okay? It's staying right there. The next step we're going to be talking about is how to actually get the bike to start moving forward. Now, this is a little bit of a fine dance. You know, when you see these bikes, you think, all right, cool. You just sit on it, you go like this, and then you go. It's not quite that easy, unfortunately. But a gas-powered bike is going to be a little bit more intricate, but that's okay. The next part I'm going to talk to you about is your clutch lever. This is a very important part of your process. So this guy right here, this is on the left side of your handlebar. When you're first starting the bike, okay, if the bike is in neutral, like we just showed, and you give it some gas, you're not going to go anywhere. You're just going to be revving the engine and nothing's going to happen. So what we need to do is put the bike into gear. So that way, when we go like this, instead of nothing happens, something happens, okay? And in order to do that, you're going to use your clutch lever over here. Remember, we're in neutral. Give the bike a little bit of a test roll with your foot, just to make sure you're in neutral. If the bike is in gear and you try to roll the bike, it's not going to want to move. Okay, so that's a little test. If the bike's freely going like this, we're moving back and forth, we are in neutral and you're nice and safe. Start the bike. So pull in on the clutch and hold it in. I use 2 fingers for this as well, because you're going to want these other fingers to hold onto the handlebar. So pull this guy in, and with that, I want you, on this shifter down here, I want you to push that down. Okay, now with that pulled in, you're going to feel the bike lurch a little bit forward. That's okay. Just remember, after you click it in, still keep this held down. We are now in first gear. We're going to try to find the engagement point here. And by finding the engagement point, what that basically means is here with your finger, you're going to see a part right where, as you let the clutch lever out, the engine starts to engage. And by engage, what that basically means is, imagine the engine is a train. Okay, the train's just going this way, okay? This clutch lever is like teeth, okay? Think of the teeth right here. Think of the train moving right past, okay? Now, as you release your clutch, imagine it's like putting your teeth forward onto the moving train, and then once the teeth grab the train, it moves with the train. Okay, I know that's kind of weird to think about. So train moving here, here comes your clutch teeth, the clutch grab onto the train, and now it's all moving. That's how I learned how to think of this. So basically, we're gonna have the engine on, the clutch pulled in, and you're gonna start to feel as you slowly, when I say slowly, I'm talking about like this speed. You're gonna feel that train starting to be grabbed, okay? Very slowly releasing the clutch. And you're gonna feel it start to move. All I want you to do is just slowly start letting the clutch out a little bit to where you feel the engine start to move. And once you feel like you're moving, pull the clutch back in, okay? So out, slowly. Once you start moving, pull the clutch back in. Once again, you're slowly letting the clutch out. And when you slowly let the clutch out in first gear, you're gonna feel the engine starting to pull you forward. The second it starts pulling you forward, pull the clutch back in, okay? So we're building in a few repetitions. I want you to do this maybe 15 to 20 times. Just slowly on the clutch coming out. And then as soon as you start moving, pull the clutch back in, okay? If you can do that, you can officially ride a dirt bike. But this is the foundation for everything else that you're gonna learn. So now what we're gonna do is, as we're slowly releasing the clutch, we're going to add in a little bit of gas. And when I say a little bit of gas, I'm talking about like that much gas, like literally just to where you hear the engine start to pick up a little bit of RPM. That's what I want you to do. So we're gonna slowly let out on the clutch. I don't know if you can see this over here. Slowly on the clutch. And in doing so, we're gonna slowly introduce a little bit of gas. And keep slowly letting the clutch out. Slowly letting the clutch out. I'm still letting the clutch out right now. And we're gonna stay a little bit on the gas here. You see this? And then you get to a point where basically you don't even need the clutch anymore. You can just use your hand over here. So it becomes very easy. And then you don't even need the clutch. You can basically just ride along with just your hand. Then you can just use your throttle and have it come on and have it come off and just kind of go back and forth to sort of putt around. Uh-oh. Looks like we just had a cop coming over here. Let's see what they're probably going to come around this corner right over here. This cop over here is kind of killing my vibe, man. I'm trying to teach you guys how to ride a dirt bike. I'm not trying to have these cops holler at me. Anywho, what I really just want to drill home here is this engagement point exercise. It's a very, very important part of getting the bike moving. And the same process works in reverse when you're trying to stop. So, okay, cool, I'm trying to stop. I put the throttle down to 0, okay? So throttle down to 0, pull the clutch in. And then I use my rear brake down here at my foot. And I lightly tap on that and I come to a stop. So that's the next thing I want you to try. We're gonna just putt around in first gear. So start the bike, first gear with your foot. Slowly let the clutch out, slowly feed the gas in and get going. I'm still letting the clutch out, still letting the clutch out. Now I'm fully letting the clutch out. Okay, I'm not even touching the clutch. I'm only using the throttle right here. Okay, very easy on your throttle hand here. Literally just like a freaking feather touch. Okay, so just kind of give it some gas to get moving. Give it a little bit more gas to get moving again, and then I reset it back to 0. Most of my input when I'm riding is like, give it some throttle to get to a speed I want to go, and then I reset the throttle back to 0 and kind of coast, and then reintroduce some throttle, and then coast again. Reintroduce some throttle, and then coast again. Now remember, when we want to stop, reset your throttle down to 0, pull the clutch in to keep the bike from dying, and then use your rear foot and tap on your little brake right here. Now that we've done our clutch engagement exercise, we've learned how to add in some throttle and reset the throttle to 0 and come to a stop. The next thing we're going to learn is how to shift up into second. Okay, so your shifter, the way you can think of this is basically, think of it as like floors on an elevator, okay? Now, imagine a hotel that has kind of an invisible lobby room. That invisible lobby is in between 1 and 2. So this invisible lobby is what we're going to call neutral, okay? So when you click all the way down with your foot that's actually putting you in first gear. Well, here's where I'm getting in on our little secret lobby area. So let's say you're down in first, okay? You want to put the bike in neutral. Don't do a hard click up. Do like half of a soft click up. In between 1 and 2 is actually where neutral is. Okay, so it's 1, neutral, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, that's how we're going to think of it. You've got a hotel with 6 floors. The lobby is at 1.5. Okay, the lobby is neutral. Remember that. When you want to chill, you want to hang out, you want to wait for your friends, you want to chit chat, go to the lobby. Okay, the lobby is where neutral is, in between first and second gear. Okay, just drill that in your head so that you understand. A good habit to get into is just before you do anything, just always click all the way down. And then with your foot, do a light click back up to that lobby in between 1 and 2. And then give the bike a little push, a little roll. Congrats, you're at the lobby, you're in neutral. Now, you can start the bike up. Once again, push down to first. Okay, we're at the lobby, boom. Now we're in first. We went down to the first floor, all right? I know, it's confusing. I don't know why the engineers had us do it that way, but it is what it is. Now, something to note as we're getting to this next step. I'm showing you how to go from first gear to second gear. So let me just pause it for a sec. Going from first gear to second gear, you would think once you get moving along here in first gear and you click up, it's just gonna put you in neutral again. That's not the case. As you're rolling, the bike is going to want to just skip neutral and go to second gear, okay? So neutral is easy to get to when the bike is stopped, all right? It's harder to get to that lobby in the middle of 1 and 2 when the engine is moving. So as you're moving along in first gear and you click up, it'll kind of skip through the lobby straight to the second floor, straight to second gear, okay? That's a general rule. Sometimes you click up to get to second gear, it actually goes to neutral. That's okay, it happens. You just want to make sure your click up into second gear is kind of a forceful click up. Nothing crazy. I mean, I don't want you just bam, just yeeting yourself into second gear. But let's give it a little try here, all right? We're in neutral, click down, we're in first. Now, very similar to how we start out with letting the clutch easy out, introducing throttle again, we're going to use that same principle, but to get up to second gear, okay? You want to get kind of higher up in the RPMs in first gear. Okay, so you get to where you can feel the engine kind of vibrating and being like, ugh. Now when it does that, that's the engine saying, hey fool, you got to put me in a higher gear up to make it easier on me. So to do that, put your throttle back to 0, pull the clutch in, and click up with your foot. And then slow back on the clutch release and introduce a little bit of throttle. It's the same process as taking off. Same process as taking off. So let's try this one more time. All right, we're in first. Slowly let the clutch out, introduce some throttle. Get moving, get moving, get moving. Throttle back to 0, pull the clutch in, click up to second. Slowly let the clutch out, and as you do, introduce the throttle again. Now this process works the same as well for getting into third gear. So all right, we're in second gear. The engine's telling us, hey fool, we gotta shift to third. So put the throttle back to 0, pull the clutch in, click up with your foot, put the clutch back out, and then introduce some throttle. And once you do this enough, you start to get the hang of it. So now let's go to fourth gear. Gas back to 0, clutch in, click up, let back out on the clutch, introduce some more gas. So now, we're literally in fourth gear putting around here, you guys. Keep in mind, man, I'm going real easy on the throttle here. Like this bike, it's a KTM, it's got a lot of power. If I really get on it, it's gonna get to some crazy speed. So be very easy on the input here as you're shifting gears and just kind of putting around, okay? Now remember, when you come to a stop, like we learned earlier in our lesson, you pull the clutch in, reset your throttle to 0, and then you use some rear brake, correct? You know how we already taught you guys that? Well, the same rule also applies even if you're in fourth gear. So let's say you're riding along, fourth gear, oh crap, I need to come to a stop. You don't need to shift all the way back down to third, then to second, then to first, and then hit your brakes. You can just pull your clutch in at any point and you can come to a stop. Okay, so no matter what gear you're in, pull the clutch, and then hit your rear brake and you'll come to a stop. Now, if you really need to come to a stop super fast, use your rear brake with your foot and introduce a little bit of front brake, okay? I just want you guys to be very careful on front brake. A lot of people, when they start riding, they're like, oh, cool, I got my clutch here, my brake up here, so whenever I want to stop, I just use this. Well, it's not a good habit to get into using your front brake for all of your stopping, because if I'm moving along and I'm like slightly turning and I use my front brake, the wheel is going to want to freaking turn sideways, and all of the weight that you have is going to go to your front tire, which is what you're trying to use to be stable. And you don't want that. You want most of your braking taking place in the rear, and you just want to add in a little bit of front to help you stop faster, okay? So rear brake is what I want you to just practice using your rear brake, okay? Let's do a smooth takeoff into 4th gear, and then we're going to downshift, okay? So I showed you how to stop from 4th gear or whatever gear. Now I'm going to show you, if you've got plenty of time and you actually want to downshift through the gears down to 1st. I'll show you how to do that. So click down to 1st again, slow out on the clutch, introduce some throttle. We're in 1st. Now we pull the clutch in, click up with our foot. Now we're into 2nd gear. Clutch in, click up. Now we're in 3rd gear. Now going to 4th, pull the clutch in, click up, let out on the clutch, give the throttle back. Now we're in 4th, okay? So now that we're in 4th, I'm going to show you how to downshift. Now downshifting is pretty cool. You can actually use downshifting to slow you down, but that's a bit more of an advanced technique. So maybe if you've enjoyed this video so far, let me know if you want me to do a little bit of a tutorial on using engine braking to help you stop even better. But anywho, we're going to downshift now. So to downshift, put your throttle to 0, pull the clutch in, click down, let out on the clutch. You'll feel the engine and the bike kind of go and kind of mesh forward. That's called engine braking. It's okay when that happens. It's going to feel a little freaky the first time that happens, but it's totally normal. Okay, so we're in 3rd gear here. Let's shift down, clutch in, throttle 0, click down, slowly let out on the clutch, and you'll feel the bike start to slow itself down again. So now that we're in 2nd, let's shift down to 1st. So throttle to 0, clutch in, click down, let out on the clutch, and now we're in 1st. And if you want to come to a complete stop, remember the clutch is your friend. So when in doubt, pull the freaking clutch in and use the back brake. I know it sounds like I'm talking about a clutch and a brake and a shifter and this and that, and it's a lot, man. Like when you see that people get hurt riding bikes and motorcycles, it makes sense, man. You got stuff going on with 2 fingers and then 2 fingers, and you got an electric start or a kick start and shifter and brake and headlight and horn and turn signal. There's a lot of stuff going on, and it could be very overwhelming. And that right there, my friends, is basically how to ride a dirt bike. If you've never ridden a dirt bike before, I hope this helps, demystify some of the stuff and simplify some of the things for you. I do all kinds of different riding videos on this channel with some of my friends. We urban explore, we ride off-road, we do hill climbs, we do soft enduro, hard enduro kind of stuff, and it's a blast. So if you found this video, I appreciate you. Check out some of our other videos. Nonetheless, I'm going to get out of some of this wind, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.